Okay. Welcome, and thank you all for coming. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to pop into this webinar about reducing inflammation with food. So this has always been really a passion of mine. Anyone who knows me, this is really kind of the bread and butter of what I like to talk about. So a little bit about me, if you didn't know me, I am a certified holistic health practitioner. I'm a life coach, health coach, transformational coach, quantum coach, research scientist, and a clinical laboratory technologist. So I have a lot of years in Western medicine and a lot of years in natural holistic medicine. So I tend to kind of muddle the two together. I feel like there's a place for both. But whenever we can do natural and holistic options, that's what we want to do. And the reason why nutrition is so important to me is because I'm a mom of two boys. And my oldest son, 20 years ago now, I can't even believe he's 20. When he was a year old, he became sick. And thank God the doctor we had at that time suggested that we do an elimination diet. And during that process of this elimination diet, we uncovered he had a sensitivity to artificial food colorings and preservatives. So overnight, our house became like the 1950s. Everything went from go buying in boxes to now everything was scratch, home cooking. And what I noticed was it helped him, but I lost like 20 pounds without even trying. Just me changing my diet to a healthier diet of just all natural foods. And I'm like, there is something to this. So that really kind of started my journey. And then as I got older, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. And I actually have four to this day I've been diagnosed with. And that's really where I became obsessed with nutrition and understanding inflammation and the causes of it. And there's more than just nutrition. It's obviously there's, emotions, there's stress, there's trauma, there's external environmental factors, but nutrition seems to be the one you can really grab a hold of, right? You can really make changes quickly, fast, and you can feel like you have some control to feel better. And so right now, I mean, I'm somebody with four autoimmune diseases. I very rarely have a symptom, if any at all. And if I do, I have the tools to really get rid of them and minimize them pretty quick. So inflammation is your body's response to an illness or injury. Oh, I'm sorry. Did everyone see the presentation? Can you see the presentation?
I can
Yeah.
see it. Yep.
Perfect. Thank you. I didn't ask that. So inflammation is just your body's response to an illness, injury, or something that doesn't belong in your body, like germs or toxic chemicals. Inflammation is normal and healthy. It is something that is good. We need that to heal. But when it becomes chronic or starts attacking healthy tissues, then it becomes a problem. So this statistic always blows my mind is worldwide, 3 out of 5 people will die due to a chronic inflammatory disease. So think of the 5 people closest to you, 3 of them are going to die due to a chronic inflammatory disease. And that could be stroke, respiratory diseases, heart disorder, cancer, autoimmune diseases, obesity, and diabetes. They are all inflammatory disorders. As of right now, there's over 100 autoimmune diseases, and they're discovering more and more every day. So this presentation today is going to really dive into the basics of nutrition and just offering you 3 unique ways that you can utilize nutrition to reduce inflammation and to help you understand which one might be best for you. Because depending on your lifestyle and your preferences, you may not be interested in one of them and you would need another option. So why this matters so much is when you're experiencing inflammation in your body, I like to look at it as like it's a fire alarm going off telling you there's a fire somewhere in your body, right? Inflammation is just telling you something's wrong. We need to take a look at what's going on and we need to fix it. Unfortunately, so if we choose to take medication, it doesn't actually reduce the symptom. It just kind of turns off the fire alarm. So that fire is still raging in your body. You just can't hear it. You don't hear the alarm. And so then what happens is the flames spread to another part of your body and you end up with inflammation somewhere else. And now, oh, we'll take another medicine and we'll shut that fire alarm off. And then it spreads to another location. And eventually the house burns down, right? Our body burns down. And we don't want that. We want to be able to use holistic and natural practices, including nutrition, to not just silence the alarm. We want to put out the flames. That's the goal. So we want to heal the body so that we can, be nice, healthy, and strong and live our best life. So the first one, if anyone has ever worked with me, I do a lot with this, is the AIP protocol. And that's the autoimmune protocol. And that is a diet specifically created to identify food sensitivities and intolerances and remove them from your diet. So this is really ideal if you're somebody who's suffering from autoimmune diseases, allergies, and food sensitivities. And a lot of times people will say, I don't have that problem. Well, this is a list of food sensitivity symptoms that people don't realize are actually food related. So if you're somebody suffering from chronic headaches, from you name it, I mean, it's a huge list here: constipation, belly blow, joints pain, soreness and cramps, itching, depression, mood swings, cardiovascular irregularities, that can actually be due to food sensitivities, all the way up to typical allergic reactions. And so a lot of times you could have a sensitivity to food and not even correlate your symptom to being related to food. And my best suggestion is if you are somebody who suffers from environmental allergies, like outside, like grass, trees, things like that, you most likely have a food sensitivity as well. They go hand in hand. It's very rare that you would have one without the other. So in a nutshell, this is an elimination diet. So this is what I used on my son 20 years ago. That was really life-saving for him. And what it is, it's designed to reduce symptoms associated with like autoimmune diseases, which means reducing inflammation as well. So it involves cutting out and replacing certain foods that are known inflammatory triggers and replacing them with more nutrient dense alternatives. And you're going to improve your gut health, hormone regulation, and immune function. So basically, this is what you're not going to eat. These are the heavy hitters, the offenders. And it's going to be, pretty much what you'd expect. It's going to be gluten, dairy, legumes, which is going to be beans and peanuts. So we're talking also grains, nightshade vegetables. So that's going to be your tomatoes, your peppers, and your potatoes. Nuts, seeds, eggs, seed-derived spices like mustard seed, things like that. Tobacco, alcohol, coffee, oils, food additives, refined and processed sugars, and you're also going to want to get rid of the NSAIDs, those non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, because they're not actually allowing your body to show you what's really going on inflammation-wise. So you want to get rid of those. So it seems like a lot that's being pulled away, but there's a ton that you still get to eat here. This is what you want to really be filling your body with. And so that's going to be healthy oils, herbs and spices, as long as they're not that derived from a seed or a chili pepper. So like chili pepper, paprika is another one derived that you would want to stay away from. But vinegars are great as long as they're, not a balsamic reduction, the sweet stuff that's delicious, those we want to stay away from. Natural sweeteners are fine. Certain teas are fine. Bone broth, vegetables are great, just avoiding those nightshades that I spoke about before. Fruit is great. Tubers, so your sweet potatoes, yams, artichokes. In meat, it's going to be minimally processed meat. So you want to stay away from anything with nitrates in it, like deli meat, hot dogs, bacon. And you're going to want to stay to more wild, grass-fed, pasture-raised, more organic, healthy meat. And anything fermented. So we're talking the probiotic-rich foods. So kombucha, sauerkraut pickles, coconut kefir, things like that. And you're going to eat all of these good healthy foods, which is going to heal the gut. It's going to reduce symptoms and inflammation. And one thing about inflammation is a fluid in your body. So people have to understand that when you have inflammation in the body, it's a fluid. Fluid contains mass. Mass contains weight. So if you hear me talk about you'll lose weight, I'm talking about you're losing inflammation. Because most of the time, if we are putting on weight, we're putting on inflammation. And that's our body just showing you something's going on. We need to take a look at it. And that's why I really love people to take the judgment away from the scale, because it's such a great tool to tell you how your body's feeling before you even can tell physically. So this right here, these foods are going to reduce inflammation. You're going to drop some weight because you're going to get rid of that inflammation on the body, and you're going to feel really good. So the AIP has 3 phases. The first phase is that elimination phase where you're eating the healthy foods. Most people do that 30 to 90 days, which seems like a lot, but I have done classes where even if you do it 7 days, your body feels amazing and you see the benefits in as early as a couple days. And then there's a reintroduction phase, is you're going to add those foods you removed back one at a time to see if the body has a reaction or not. And just like I said before with the weight, the easiest way to do that is to just weigh yourself. So if you introduce a food back into your diet and you step on the scale the next day and you're up a half a pound or a pound, you did not eat an extra 3,000 calories. There's no way. Your body is now just inflamed, which is liquid fluid that carries a mass that's increasing your weight. But if you introduce a food back in and you notice your weight doesn't really change, then you're not having a problem with that food. There are many other things you could notice. You could notice stomach problems, headaches, or whatever. But I say that weight, when you step on the scale, is the best data to really know if you're having a reaction or not to a food. And then the third part is this maintenance, which is you've created a lifestyle plan that's going to have all the foods from that elimination part, all those good, healthy foods, and then all the foods you brought back in that you didn't have a reaction to. And now you have a great customized meal plan that works for you, that helps your body thrive. This is really, really good for people who love to do their own cooking, that really love to just immerse themselves in food and healthy food. It's also really good for people who have a lot of allergies. This is what I really recommend. If you have a lot of allergies and you are foodie and you love to cook, this is a great plan because it's so eye-opening and you become in tune to your body and your body's signals. So the second option for nutrition is if you're someone who doesn't want to change your food pattern, your food at all, you don't really want to change your diet, it's intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is just an eating pattern that's going to cycle between fasting and feeding. Like basically you're creating a fasting window and then an eating window. And it doesn't specify what foods you should eat, but rather when you should eat them. So that means it's more of an eating pattern. It's not really a diet. And this is really good for busy people or people who are like, I don't have time to make my own food. I don't have time to know where my next meal is coming from, but I can control when I eat. And it's been used for, all throughout evolution. And we're able to function without food for extended periods of time without a problem. So who should intermittent fast? This is ideal for men. This is the man's way to go. If you are a guy, intermittent fasting is great if you notice you have inflammation. And that's because men only have a 24-hour window, a cycle that they follow every day. Their hormones fluctuate in a 24-hour cycle. Women have that 24-hour cycle, but they also have a 28-day cycle. So we are a little bit more complicated. And so the research, when they do how great intermittent fasting is for you, it is, but the research was only done on men because women are too confusing. We have too many variables and they don't like to use us for research. So that's why I say this is really great for men. This is great for men and this is great for women who are busy, but you just have to tailor that to the menstrual cycle and understand your hormones a little bit. So for men, the OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, or the warrior diet, which is going to be a 20-hour fast, 4-hour feed window, really has amazing results for men. And that is one of the easiest ways for men to reduce inflammation and weight quickly, easily, and safely. Now, women, on the other hand, they can do it. But you got to just take into account your cycle. And this is where, starting from day 1, when you first get your period, to day 10, I call that like this power phase. And you could do, if you've never fasted before, you could start with a 13-hour. You could go up to a 3-day fast, and your body is like, awesome, bring it. I got this. Let's go. Because this is where your hormones are in the right phase to feel your best and to power through and to really make changes. But once you hit ovulation, which is going to be about day 11 through 15, your body is getting ready to potentially have a baby, right? So its hormones are changing, and that's where you need to be more gentle. And you don't want to stress your body out during that time because your body's already stressed. It's releasing an egg, it's trying to prepare. So that's where you wouldn't want to go more past a 15-hour fast. And once you're done with ovulation, you're back in another power phase because you feel great again. Those hormones have shifted, and you can do the same thing all the way up to a 3-day fast. You could do the OMAD every day if you wanted in that window, and you would have no problem. Your body would respond great. But like once you hit day 20 to when you get your period, that's where you need to nurture yourself. And that's where, if you're a woman, if you're continuing those intense fasts, you're going to see problems and you're going to see inflammation increase. Is because your body now is getting ready to shed, it is getting ready to bleed, and needs all the energy and the nutrients that it can because there's a lot of changes going on. The hormones are tanking, everything is changing. And that's when you should not be fasting at all for that week. That week is actually the week you should be not pushing yourself with exercise because that's added stress. You should be eating nice, warm, nutritious foods, and you should be taking it easy and giving yourself a lot of grace. And you'll see if you do that, your body responds much better. So if you utilize a fasting schedule that incorporates the needs of the hormones, that decreases stress and inflammation, and then you have a really great response to using intermittent fasting. And this is one of the things where a lot of women don't like intermittent fasting because they didn't take into account their cycle. So the third one is ketogenic. So this one has a ton of research, and this is a diet where a majority of the calories come from fat instead of carbohydrates. And that causes the body to switch its fuel source from carbs to fats. And that process releases ketones. So when the body switches to fat burning, the ketones are released through the breath and the urine. And so what's interesting is ketones contain energy. They're actually what's crossing into the brain to give us energy to feed our brain, to feed our body. But what's interesting is our body during that time actually releases ketones in our breath and our urine, which means that's the only time that your body is literally breathing and peeing away calories. That's why people on the keto diet tend to lose weight so fast, is because you are literally breathing energy and calories away and you're urinating them away. So that's a little side point I love to always tell people because it's fascinating. So the benefits of keto, it's naturally anti-inflammatory because you're reducing the carbohydrate sugar intake. So you're getting rid of those inflammatory foods. So if you're reducing sugar, you're reducing carbohydrates, you're just naturally going to be reducing foods that feed inflammation because now you're switching to low carbohydrate vegetables, low starch vegetables. It's naturally high in many anti-inflammatory foods. If you're eating organic meat and grass-fed butter, they're naturally anti-inflammatory. Also, low starch foods. So you're talking lettuce, broccoli, green beans, they're naturally low inflammatory. And so when you're properly following this diet, you're in a constant state of ketosis. So you're always have ketones in your body. And one of them is BHB, which is beta hydroxybutyrate, which has been associated with activating genes that improve mitochondrial function and decrease oxidative stress, which is a game changer. And I know Jesse knows all about oxidative stress. So this is where keto can really be great at reducing inflammation. So who is the ideal candidate? So you're going to see a connection with all of these in a minute. So women who are perimenopausal and menopausal who are suffering from weight gain, and especially the menopause belly, when they start to notice the menopause belly, that is where keto is really ideal because menopause belly is caused from insulin resistance. And even if your blood work doesn't show it yet, the belly doesn't lie. And that is because when your estrogen is dropping and tanking and your progesterone's changing, it affects insulin. Insulin's also a hormone. And so how we notice that is that you're going to gain visceral fat. Visceral fat is directly related to cortisol, stress, and to insulin resistance. And keto is really good at increasing insulin sensitivity and doing it quickly. So that is where it's really a benefit. If you are anyone who has brain fog, cognitive or behavioral issues, this is also the ideal food plan for you. Alzheimer's is known as type 3 diabetes. So it is also insulin resistance of the brain. So if you are noticing brain fog, and I think it's always interesting because one of the signs, the symptoms of perimenopause and menopause is brain fog, which is insulin resistance showing up in the brain. So this is where this diet is also beneficial because there has been numerous studies for years. I mean, it's the keto diet has been well known for decades to actually help people who have epilepsy. So people who have epilepsy are on the keto diet, reduce and remove their seizures. They almost have no seizures at all. But once they fall off the keto diet, whether intentionally or accidentally, the seizures come back. So they tend to stay without any medication on a keto diet with their life and control the epilepsy. And there's been a ton of studies on depression, on Alzheimer's, on bipolar disorder of how the keto diet really reduces symptoms. It's very good for the brain. And the reason why it's so good for the brain is because instead of feeding the brain glucose, it's feeding the brain ketones. It's using a different fuel. So another one is just simply people suffering from insulin resistance. If you've gone to the doctor and they say you're close, you're not quite type 2 yet, but you're close. This is a perfect diet for you for all the reasons I've said before. And again, apple-shaped women. And if you haven't figured it out, it's because it's more visceral fat. Us apple-shaped girls like myself, we are more prone to insulin resistance because we carry more fat in our midsection. That's more dangerous visceral fat, which is causing us to have more cortisol and lean towards insulin resistance. So that is also why apple-shaped women, when they hit menopause and perimenopause, tend to be the women who get the weight gain and the menopause belly, because they're already kind of were subtly insulin resistant and didn't know it their whole lives. They had more resistance than other people to insulin. And autoimmune disease sufferers, because it addresses that mitochondrial dysfunction, and that condition often goes hand in hand with autoimmune. That's why this is also a great option for somebody with an autoimmune issue. So keto 101. So what that diet looks like, it's 70% healthy fats, 25% protein, 5% carbs. So you want to make sure most of your diet is healthy fats, and you don't want to go over 5% carbohydrates. So those are really the two main things. The protein can alternate. It doesn't have to be 25%, but the fats need to stay high and the carbs need to stay low. So here are some foods that are very common on the keto diet. And it's going to be fish and seafood, low carb vegetables, cheese, avocado, poultry, eggs, nuts, healthy oils, plain Greek yogurt, and cottage cheese. That's going to be full fat. Anything on keto is a full fat that you want to use. Berries, unsweetened coffee and tea, dark chocolate, and cocoa powder. So I have some bonus tips for all of you. So drink your water. Whichever one of these three works the best for you, you have to make sure you're drinking water. You have to get that fluid in your system, at least half of your body weight in ounces of water per day. If you're not, your body's going to be holding on to that fluid, holding on to that inflammation. You need to tell your body that it's going to get enough fluid that it can release it. It feels safe to release it. Second, movement. Any type of movement and adding that to your daily routine is also going to enhance the body's ability to reduce inflammation. It's going to increase circulation, and it's also going to help you get those fluids moving and released through the body. And it doesn't have to be running a marathon. It can simply be when you go to the grocery store, take an extra lap around the grocery store. It could be go for just a walk around the block. Something more than what you're used to is what we're looking for here. And the best way to have the best results is to combine the three plans. That's really the genius of all this. And there's some different ways to do this. So the 7 ways to success. This is where you're going to see magic happen. So you could choose AIP. So say you're someone, I love to meal prep, I have food allergies, I'm going to do the autoimmune protocol. That's great. Someone else says intermittent fasting. I don't have time for this, but I can control when I eat. They start intermittent fasting. There's another person that chooses keto because they said, you know what, this belly's got to go. I want to try keto. But if you're also someone who wants increased results, how about if you did the autoimmune protocol and you did it during a fasting cycle? You added that fast to it. Or you did the AIP, but you did it eating ketogenic friendly foods. So you chose healthy fats, low carb vegetables that are good, that are allowed on the AIP plan. Or you could do intermittent fasting with keto. But if you really wanted the most results, combine all three. And you're going to see a reduction in inflammation almost overnight. You will wake up and you'll noticeably feel better. So I'm a book girl, so I wanted to offer some books that I have that I love. So if you are interested in the AIP protocol, The Plan by Lynn Janae Recitas is amazing. She walks you through step by step how to do it with meal plans. You can't eat the amount of food she wants you to eat on this thing. It's amazing. Like, you are eating so much delicious, healthy food. You actually forget you're on an elimination diet. Fast Like a Girl is if you're interested in intermittent fasting. And this Dr. Mindy Pelz really goes into every possible scenario for women and how to get the optimum results fasting. If you're a man, Eat, Stop, Eat by Brad Pilon is really the way to go. It's simple. It's going to do more like the OMAD, the Warrior Diet. And then we have Dr. Axe does the Keto Diet book, is going to walk you through how to start a ketogenic diet if you're interested in that. I have read all these. I own them all in my house, and they are all amazing books and fast reads. So I want to talk a little bit about myself, is that I focus on nutritional health because it is one of the easiest ways to get results while we're also looking at the other triggers as well to whatever is bothering you. So I do have a self-paced course about AIP called What Should I Eat? That is a 4-week step-by-step course that walks you through it. I also do private coaching packages, and I have an ultimate health assessment, which is 90 minutes to walk you through. If you weren't sure what the best plan of action is, you can do the health assessment, and we really will talk about what your goals are, what your likes are, what works for your schedule, and you leave with a concrete plan moving forward of what to get you through the next 90 days to help you feel your best and to reduce inflammation and what food. It comes with recipes, you name it. I give you whatever I've got in that 90 minutes, and you leave knowing exactly how to move forward in the best way for you. So if anyone has any questions, I will stop sharing. There were any questions, anything I could help you with?
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you for all of that. You deliver the information so like concisely and powerfully. I've always admired that about you. I consider myself pretty well informed about inflammation, and I never knew inflammation was a fluid.
Yeah, it's liquid.
Can you say more? Like explain that. That just like totally blew my mind.
Yeah,
How
and
is
it's
inflammation a liquid?
that's how your body gets the nutrients to that part of your body. It brings extra fluid full of all the nutrients that you need. So like when your knee's swollen, it's swollen with a fluid. The fluid has nutrients that's going to try to heal you. And so it's funny. So that's normally people don't even realize is that when you're inflamed, like even after surgery, people tend to gain weight and it's just liquid. It's inflammation going to the source to help you heal. And the moment you start to feel better, people don't realize they tend to go to the bathroom more because they're actually releasing that inflammation. It's leaving the body. Yeah, and so if you correlate your weight and take away the judgment, which I love to do, is if all of a sudden you step on the scale, which as women, we've all done this, right? We've stepped on the scale and you're up 2 pounds to 5, whatever, and you're like, what the heck? And that's because your body, whether it's hormonal or you ate something your body didn't like, or you worked out too hard, or you did something, your body is saying, hey, I'm inflamed.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
So on the intermittent fasting, it says one meal, but it gives you a 4-hour window. Can you eat more than one meal within that 4-hour window?
Well, there's different options. So the one meal a day is you fast and you only eat one meal a day. There's
Yeah.
one that's the warrior that is 20-hour fast and you have a 4-hour window and you can eat in that 4-hour window. So you could eat in the, more than once, you could kind of graze whatever you want in that 4-hour window. And the reason why that type of fasting works so well is because of autophagy. So after 17 hours of fasting, our body goes into autophagy, which basically means it starts to eat itself. But it's eating the bad cells, the cells that aren't functioning right, that are kind of just hanging out that need to go, the ones that are sick. And that's where the inflammation goes away. So you're giving your body that time to turn on into autophagy and to kind of do the cleaning. It's cleaning your body out of all the stuff it doesn't need so then more healthy cells can grow. Any other questions? I want to thank you guys so much for coming and listening to this. I really appreciate it.